Welcome to this latest edition of the Real Deal Podcast. I'm your host, Ril Dil Quinn, recording this on a Tuesday. I hope everybody out there is enjoying their week as we are less than just basically a week away from Christmas. Christmas coming on a Wednesday this year as we fast approach 2025. I'm not sure whether or not this is going to be the last episode of 2025. I might squeeze in one more, maybe. Maybe I'm not quite sure yet. But I definitely will keep you posted on that. Uh, Big week in the NFL. In terms of a couple of teams really continuing to separate themselves and hopefully be on a collision course because I think it would be a great Super Bowl if we're going to begin with the game of the week. Buffalo with one of the signature wins of the 2020 the 24 season, just handling Detroit 48-42. This game was not as close as the score indicated. It was a wild fourth quarter, like 34 points scored in the fourth quarter. You never thought Detroit was going to win this game. Buffalo was in control basically from start to finish. They jumped out on Detroit. Detroit made, one of these fake comebacks where they they had to throw the ball basically on every down. Golf was great. Both quarterbacks were phenomenal. Golf throws about close to 500 yards in this game. I think he had like 458 yards passing. And Josh Allen continues to stamp continues to lead the MVP race. He's clearly the MVP right now. Golf had 494 yards passing, 5 touchdowns, 38-59. Golf is spectacular. This is the best Jared Goff has played in his career. Even the year that he went to the Super Bowl with the Rams and lost to the Patriots, he's never played better. He has been unbelievable this season. But this is about the Bills. We'll get to Detroit in a minute because they have some major issues, to say the least. Um, in terms of on the injury front. So Josh Allen, in the last 3 games, 13 touchdowns. He's accounted for 13 touchdowns in the last 3 games. He has, for the season, 37 touchdowns and only 5 turnovers. No lost fumbles, just 5 interceptions. He's playing, like I said, we've never seen Josh Allen play this well. And he's had seasons where he's been 37 touchdowns and 10 interceptions, but he's for the most part, for the better part of his career, even when he's had great statistical seasons, has been a turnover machine, and that's the difference. That's why Buffalo's in the position that they are in right now, because they do not, they turn you over and they're not turning over football, and Allen has just turned into a just basically the ultimate weapon in football right now. There's no one, not a quarterback, there's not a player playing better than Josh Allen right now. There's not a better than him, especially at the quarterback position. I would expect him to be first team All Pro this season. He'll be certainly battling with that with probably with he and Lamar Jackson, but fully expect him if he stays healthy to be first team All Pro, and he's carried this team. This Buffalo team is talent is not. I'm telling you right now, and I follow Buffalo closely. Obviously, Rob Sapp is a huge Buffalo fan, and when we were doing podcasts a couple of years ago, I followed Buffalo very closely. This is the least talented team they've had, maybe probably in the Josh Allen, Sean McDermott era, maybe outside Josh Allen's rookie season. This is the least most talented they had. They are not loaded with talented players up and down the board. I'm telling you, he is basically single handedly carrying this football team. Like seriously, carrying this football team. They have some nice players. They have some. I mean, they have some good players on the maybe on the defensive line. Ed Oliver, Von Miller is basically is cooked. And Greg Rousseau's a nice player. The second again, they're not what they once were defensively, and on defensively, and certainly don't have the weapons that they had with like having a Stephon Diggs, at the receiver position. This is all Josh Allen. You know, I'm telling you right now, this is all Josh Allen, and they are putting up statistically, some historical scoring numbers. They currently are tied with the Patriots for the most consecutive 30-point games in a season, with 8. To have a chance to, and I expect them to break that this week when they destroyed the Patriots. So this is all Josh Allen. This team right now, there's something about this team that's different to me than in the past. There's an intangible about this team. Um, Again, they could absolutely get to a Super Bowl. They can absolutely win a Super Bowl. There's no two ways about it. Now again, they're going to conquer the beast of Kansas City. Kansas City, despite, and we'll talk about Kansas City later on, but that's if they, if you have a feeling that they will not be able to make it to the Super Bowl if they don't play. The road to the Super Bowl still goes to Kansas City, and they're going to have to conquer that, conquer that demon uh in order to get to a Super Bowl. But right now, I said this team is playing unbelievable football. They've beaten Detroit, they've beaten Kansas City. They have they have some tremendous wins from that standpoint. They had really, I mean, really only had one bad loss, or not even a bad loss, but they got handled earlier a couple of months ago by Baltimore, which seems like it was like 10 years ago. But like I said, right now this team walks on the field, they're going to score 30 to 35 points. Period. They're going to score 30 to 35 points. As far as Detroit is leaking oil right now. Detroit's defense, and this last couple of weeks, Detroit defense, and you can even go back to even against the second half against Green Bay, Detroit's defense was bad. It continued. It continued in this game. Buffalo did whatever they wanted to do against Detroit's defense, and now they lose the running back Montgomery. That's a huge loss for their running back situation. Um, they're down a lot of defensive players. They golf. Their offense is scoring a lot of points, so they're going to be in a battle in a rock fight with the Philadelphia Eagles to get a home field advantage. But right now, Detroit is definitely beatable right now. And if you look at those two top seeds in the NFC, clearly, I'd much rather face Detroit than Philadelphia. And to be honest with you, if I were ranking the teams in the NFC right now, I would go Philadelphia, Green Bay, and Detroit. I still think Detroit's better than Minnesota because I'm not buying the Sam Darnold in the playoffs. Just not buying that. At least Golf has been to a Super Bowl and has a lot of playoff experience. In Detroit was in a conference championship last year. Minnesota's has had a wonderful season. I just don't. I think they're just a great regular season team. I don't buy Minnesota doing any damage in the playoffs. And again, that's very disrespectful to say about 12-2 teams. I'm not buying Minnesota stock. But right now, Detroit is hurting, especially on defense. They are losing defensive players left and right. Aiden Hutchinson, I know, had been out, but they seem to have gotten the defense seemingly was improving in November, but it's taken a major step back in the last couple of weeks. As again, Green Bay and Buffalo have just done whatever they wanted to on against Detroit's defense, and they're not going to win. They're not going to the Super Bowl playing defense like this. I can tell you that right now. You have like both Philadelphia and Green Bay are superior defensive teams to Detroit, and again, right now, those two teams look clearly better than Detroit. They have more momentum right now playing down the stretch than Detroit does. So we'll see if Detroit can, kind of circle the wagons a bit and get their stuff together and hang on to a home field advantage, which is certainly will be much needed for them. And they need the rest as well in terms of the bye week. Philadelphia handles Pittsburgh. This game came down to one play. You had the Najee Harris fumble at 20-13 when Pittsburgh was driving. He fumbles. It was a bad handoff. Never had control of the ball, and that was the game. The biggest story to me about this game was Jalen Hurts, and if anybody saw Jalen Hurts in his press conference. Quite, perturbed to say the least, quite annoyed. And I'm gonna tell you why he's pissed off. And I really thought about this after the last podcast. After the last podcast, as you're looking at his numbers, I believe I said this in my last week's podcast that the numbers are not his numbers are basically the same numbers that he had in 2022 when he was runner up MVP, runner up to second MVP runner up to Patrick Mahomes. And Hurts again has accounted for a bunch of 18 touchdowns. He's accounted for about 32 touchdowns. He has 14 rushing touchdowns and 18 passing. And he, if I'm being questioned, a quarterback has two jobs. That's to get your team in the end zone and win the game, get your team in the end zone. And he's done that at a high level this year. He hasn't turned over the ball a lot. He's cut down the turnovers compared to last year's. Interceptions last year he had 15 interceptions. This year is down to 5. Okay. And they are a team that is built to play. They play to their strength. They're a running football team first, and they're a defensive running football team. They have a guy who's going to get strong consideration for MVP in Saquon Barkley, who was on pace before this game, was on a great pace to break Eric Dixon's rushing record from 1984. And they have one of the best, if not the best offensive line football. They play to their strengths. They're not out. They're not built. They're not out there. Jalen Hurts is not going to throw the ball 35, 40, 50 times. It's not going to do what Joe Burrow's doing. So he's not putting up gaudy numbers. He's just going out there and winning games. And Tom Brady early in his career, look at his numbers in his first 3 years of his career. He wasn't throwing for 40 touchdowns and 5,000 yards or 4,000 yards. I mean, he's pedestrian, 28 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. Those type numbers. They play to their defense, special teams, coaching. They out schemed you. They out coached you. They made less mistakes, and which is fine. And it won them three Super Bowls in 4 years and back-to-back Super Bowls. Philadelphia, this is the way for Philadelphia to compete and win a Super Bowl. Run the ball, play great defense. Philadelphia's defense right now has been dominant. They are number one in points allowed and number one in yards allowed, opposition in yards allowed. They've been by far the best defense in football, by far. Okay, so if I'm Jalen Hurts, I'm like, fuck y'all. Like, basically, y'all can talk about the passing game. No, we're winning games. Like, we're not out here trying to set scoring records or we're out here trying to win. We're winning games. And he's out and he's played well. Like, again, the most overrated stat in football is passing yards. It's overrated. Joe Burrow leads the world in every passing stat known to man. Cincinnati will not be in the playoffs this year. Burrow leads in passing yards, touchdowns, completions, attempts, all those stats. Burrow leads. He's had a phenomenal year. I'm not taking anything from Joe Burrow. He's a franchise quarterback and a legit top 5 quarterback in this league. But that doesn't equate. The defense has been horrible, and they haven't been able to run the ball, and that doesn't equate to winning. That's not going to put wins. He's kind of put up some empty numbers. Great numbers on a bad team. So I see why Jalen Hurts is pissed off. If you wonder why he's pissed off, that's why he's pissed off, because he's being looked upon as a weak link. He's not a weak link. Jalen Hurts is still an above average quarterback and has played well this year. So that's why he's pissed off. And again, we went through this last week. AJ Brown was put in an impossible spot with how the question was formed. What's the part of the offense that needs to improve? You can't say the running game. You can't say the offensive line. Of course, yeah, the passing game. And AJ Brown spent the better part of the week, basically telling you that him and Jalen Hurts are, the greatest of friends, basically, which whatever. But this game went almost as I would expect it to go. I thought it'd be closer from a standpoint. I didn't think it would be 2 scores, but Pittsburgh was in this game. It was 17-13 at halftime. Again, 20-13 going to the fourth quarter. And again, that drive, the fumble, they never recover from the Najee Harris mishandle fumble, and Philadelphia was able to salt away a 27-13 win. They have Washington. They'll be at at Washington coming up this week. Kansas City over takes out again a horrible Cleveland team 21-7. But again, the big story to me, Patrick Mahomes leaves the game with a minor injury. We don't know. I wouldn't play Mahomes in this upcoming game. They're on a stretch. They're going to be Kansas City's going to be on a stretch. Kansas City improves to 13-1, by the way. Probably the most disrespected 13-1 team of all time. If Mahomes is healthy, I'm not worried about Kansas City. I'm just they earned that. They're on Emeritus stats right now. They've earned that. They have earned that throughout the course of their winning history. For me, not to be concerned about. We know they're not a dominant team. There is no dominant team in the NFL this year, this season. But they are still the team to beat until I see otherwise. I wouldn't play Mahomes this week. Um, they're going to be playing 3 games in 11 days, which is just insane. But by the NFL, by the way, they have 4 teams. We'll talk about that later on. But 4 teams paying 11 days just to because you want the Christmas money. And the NFL just wants every single dollar. They don't give a shit about these players and about their health. And really, it's not. I mean, I'm going to step on my later point. I'm going to step on a later point I want to make in the podcast, but I might as well get into it now. It's not good for the product to have these teams to have them playing that many days, that many games in a short amount of time because you're going to susceptible to more injuries. I wouldn't play Mahomes this week. Like you're 13-1, you are 2 games clear of the next closest team, which is Buffalo. Buffalo's what 11-3, I believe. Yeah, 11-3. You're 13-1. Um, I know Buffalo beat them earlier this season, but Kansas City has a 2-game lead at this point. Well, 2 point, you have 2-game lead with 3 games to play. That's a big lead. That's a big lead. So I know Kansas City has a tough schedule down the stretch, but this would be the one that I would sit Mahomes out. Again, you're thinking big picture if you're Kansas City. Sure, you're thinking big picture if you're Kansas City. Buffalo has a tough schedule as well, so it's not like Buffalo's schedule is not easy outside as well. I mean, I think Buffalo has New England. Well, Buffalo's schedule is not. Buffalo actually schedule is not that hard, to be honest with you. So, I mean, it's conceivable that Buffalo could catch Kansas City. But again, the most important part, if you're Kansas City, is Mahomes' health. That's the most important part. He did not look good leaving the game. They took him out the game, and they said he could have came back if it was a playoff game, sure. But I would err on the side of caution and sit Mahomes this week as they embark on getting 3 games in 11 days. Tampa Bay just overwhelms the Chargers 40-17. They go on a 30-0 run after being down 17-13, 17-10. Give Tampa Bay a lot of credit for rallying. They were 4-6 at one point. They had a number of injuries, especially to the receiver. Mike Evans was out. They had a number of injuries, especially to their receiving core. Mayfield has played great this year. They've won 4 straight. They are in total control of that division. They're probably going to win that division as Atlanta continues. Atlanta. I don't have any trust in Atlanta. I never have, even going back to the preseason, even going back to August when I was predicting that Atlanta was going to be one of the more overrated teams. But Atlanta's still in the mix. But Tampa Bay deserves a lot of credit for really rallying the troops at a time where their season could have went left at 4-6. San Francisco falls to the Rams 12-6. The only reason I bring up this game is again San Francisco this year has had everything caught up to them, injuries, the attrition of going to all these championship games and Super Bowls and coming up short. Everything came to a head this year. There's a story that came out that Brock Purdy in his camp, as far as agent and his people's representation, is going to be seeking $60 million. That he's not giving them the home, that he's not giving them a team discount, despite the fact that he's been pedestrian at best. 15 touchdowns, just nine interceptions. Uh, he's not, he's comparing us. He's comparing himself to a Tagovailoa, Trevor Lawrence, other guys, Dak Prescott, other guys again that have gotten these insane contracts, and he's got what 3 or 4 playoff wins. He's gonna say, "Hey, I got like 4 playoff wins. Got more playoff wins than Dak Prescott and Trevor Lawrence and Tua combined." And I want to get, I want the max money. And if I'm San Francisco, I'm saying hell no. Like to me, this was a perfect year for Purdy. And I defended Purdy after last year. I defended Purdy saying that he was a legit MVP candidate last year. And he played extremely well last year. And he had a Pro Bowl caliber season last year. I was a Purdy fan last year. But if you're going to give a quarterback that type of money, he has to be able to cover up mistakes that your defense makes. He has to be able to cover up injuries on your offense. Purdy needs everything, and I mean everything, to be dead solid perfect. Period. That's what his play has shown us this year. He needs everything to be perfect. And everything has been far from perfect with that San Francisco team. Even within the locker room, we got players walking off the field, Devondre Campbell, and who will never play another down with the 49ers. And it's been a horrible year for San Francisco. And I wouldn't give him the money. They could let him, be a free agent after the 25 season. You see if he goes out there in 25 and balls out and gets San Francisco back into the mix of a contending team, then okay, you pay him, cool. But you cannot give this dude $60 million a year. You cannot give him, you can't allow Brock Purdy to reset the quarterback market. He's not like, listen, I think Purdy's a very good player, but he's not that level of player. He's just not. He's not as talented as Jordan Love is. I don't think he's as talented as Trevor Lawrence. A lot of people are down Trevor Lawrence. I'm looking at the culture that Trevor Lawrence has had to deal with in the last, say, 3 or 4 years. Peterson has been awful with Jacksonville, and Urban Meyer was a shit show. So I just think that organization right now is miserably run. I think just like I do with the Bears. Like, they're just a horribly run franchise. So I'm still high again. If you're Purdy's representation, you're going to compare yourself to some of those guys that have gotten paid and say, I'm just as good as these guys. Like Purdy, like people in his representation probably will say that only 3 quarterbacks that are definitely better than Purdy. That's or four. That's Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Joe Burrow. And what they're going to say is, hey, outside of Mahomes, I led my team to a Super Bowl just like Joe Burrow. Dak Prescott hasn't done that. Trevor Lawrence hasn't done that. Tua hasn't done that. Lamar Jackson hasn't done that. But Lamar Jackson has the 2 MVPs. But these are the type of conversations that are going to be going on with the negotiations. If it gets that serious, where San Francisco says, no, you know what, we're going to pay this guy. I wouldn't do it if I was San Francisco. I think they're insane if they give this guy the super max money for a quarterback. I wouldn't do it. And there's no, again, if I'm Purdy, I see it both. I see it both ways. If I'm Purdy, I'm not taking less than $60 million a year. I want to look at my record. Despite this year, it's still a very good win-loss record. Those 4 playoff wins count. So I understand both sides, but I'm just telling you, if you're the 49ers, you will set your franchise back a decade if you give this man that type of money. Dallas is going to be paying for a long time, for the next 2 or 3 years behind this Dak contract. They're going to be paying. This Dak contract is aging. It's going to age miserably. Miserably. So we'll see what happens. The Rams are going to be battling out, of course, with Seattle for that division. Again, 49ers are cooked. I know they're only 2 games out, 3 games to play. Anything can happen. But there's nothing with the energy of this team, with how they're playing. They just, I mean, like I said, their culture is a little bit shook up right now. I mean, Kyle Shanahan might not even want to come back. Be honest with you, if I'm Kyle Shanahan, I'll be looking at possibly it might be time to move on. Like I mean, again, I know he's speaking. He's talking like, "Hey, I love it here. I don't want to be anywhere else." As Troy Aikman and couple other people floated the idea of the Chicago Bears trading to get Kyle Shanahan. And by the way, you Kyle Shanahan with Caleb Williams and some of those pieces they have defensively, I think the Bears would be in the playoffs next year. I think a fresh start. I think that team is way more talented than they're playing below their expectations as far as their talent level. And I said that throughout the course of this season. I think the Bears are a much better team than what they're showing. They are miserably coached. The organization is a shit show. I think a Kyle Shanahan would be a perfect fit for Caleb Williams. I still like Kyle Shanahan. I think I think he's a legit top 5 coach in this league. He's been to a couple Super Bowls. Again, he's come up short, but they are, with the exception of this year, they have been in contention year in and year out. It is hard to stay at top. Like what Kansas City is doing it's historical. Like that is what New England did. It's hard to make the playoffs year in and year out, let alone be a championship contender in the NFL year in and year out. So we'll see what happens with the 49ers. That is your fave for the week. The deep dive. A lot of conversation in the NBA about the ratings and about the reasons for the ratings dropping. The ratings are down 48%. I have some theories on that. I'm not going to go into that right now. But as far as the on the court product, there's been a thought that one of the NBA's biggest problems is too many 3-point shots, and how the 3-point shot has impacted negatively the game. And I want to say this: the NBA doesn't have a 3-point problem. The NBA has a shot selection problem. You look at the last 5 champions. You even go back to the Lakers in the bubble in 20, Milwaukee in 21. Milwaukee in 21, when they won a championship, shot 32% in the postseason from the 3-point line. Golden State in 2022 and 22 shot 36% from the 3-point range in the finals. They did not win that series because of their 3-point shooting. Steph Curry dominated and their defense locked down the last 3 games. Denver only shot 23%, 33% from the 3-point line in the finals. They won that finals against Miami because of their defense, and they had the best player on the planet. And last year, Boston, for all the talk about the math and with the 3-point shot, they only shot 32% in the finals against Dallas and winning that series in 5 games. The 3-point shot is not the problem. It is you watch these games. These teams are so poorly coached and so poorly mismanaged in terms of roster construction that there's a trickle-down effect that has on shot selection. The best teams, the successful franchises, take the best shots. I'm going to give you a case study in players, right? So the 2 best players on the planet right now, Joker and Giannis, those are the 2 best players, period, point blank. Those are the 2 best guys. Joker right now is shooting 48% from the 3-point line, but he only takes 4. Only takes 4 a game. Gets to the line 6 times a game. And he's not an athletic. He's not a great athlete per se. He's not like, but he's getting to the line 6 times a game. He's only taking 4 threes a game, right? So great shot selection, shooting 56% from the field, creates great shots for his teammates, per se. Giannis, um, has only attempted 17 threes this year. He's only shot. John is the reason why he's shooting 61% because he's destroying people in the paint. He's only attempting 0.73 points, 0.7 3-pointers a game this year. Only shooting 17%, but it doesn't matter if you're taking less than one. Now, contrast that to some of the American players, and this is Jason Tatum. Tatum this year shooting 45% from the field, 36% from 3-point range. Jason Tatum is taking 10.5 3-point shots a game. That is more than half his shots. He's shooting 20 shots a game. Half his shots are 3-point shots. So he's taking more three. He gets to the line 7.4, nice number, but he's taking 10 threes, but getting to the line 7.4. You would like to see that in reverse. You would like to see him taking like 7 threes and getting to the line about 10 times a game. Okay. Anthony Edwards, right? Having an excellent year, 26, 5, and 3. Okay. Edwards this year is taking 10 3-point shots a game. Now he's shooting 42%, right? But check this out. He's only attempting with his athleticism, and he's only like, Edwards is still like in like 23. He's only 23 years old. He's only getting to the line 4.5 times a game. So he's shooting 6 more threes than he is free throw attempts. So that's not the three, like the three that's the shot selection is the problem. And why these players are taking, and like, I'll give you another one, Anthony Davis. All right, Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis this year is shooting 30% from the 3-point line. He's taking average of he's taking 30. He's taking shooting 30% from the free throw line. Now JJ Redick wanted him to shoot more threes, but he's just not a good shooter. If you look at Anthony Davis's shooting splits, he's only shooting at the rim. He's at 74%. From 3 to 10 feet, he's at 50%. 10 to 16 feet, which is mid range, 29%. And from 3-point line, 30%. From 16 feet to the 3-point line, he's at 44%. He's just not a good shooter. So that tells me I want him in the paint so you can get to the line more and get offensive rebounds. I don't want you shooting jump shots. So that, again, this is all the NBA. They are so enamored by the 3-point shot that these franchises, these analytics, all this bullshit have brainwashed these players into thinking they have to shoot 3-point shots. They have to shoot threes. Like, one of the worst things you ever heard from the standpoint when that phrase came out. Well, if you hit 2 out of 5, that's 40%. That's the equivalent of shooting 60% from the twos. True, but again, everybody should not be shooting threes like the way everybody should not be shooting a lot of threes. Everybody should not be shooting 3-point shots the way they shoot them. And I hear these gimmicks. Can we stop with this bullshit? Move the 3-point line back or take away the corner 3. No. Tell your players to focus on taking higher percentage shots and have them understand that the 3-point shot is still the lowest percentage shot in basketball. The worst shot in basketball is a 3-point shot. Despite all the numbers, it is still the worst shot in basketball. It is. I mean, period, point blank. It's still the worst shot in basketball. But these players have been brainwashed by coaches, by these analytic dummies about, you have to shoot a 3. You have to shoot 3. You don't have to shoot a 3. Boston did not win a championship because of the 3-point shot. Boston has the most talent, and they played great defense. Period. Golden State, all those years, Golden State used the 3-point shot to open up their offense. Do you know how many layups Golden State used to get? Now it was because of the threat of the 3-point shot, but they did not abuse it. Houston abused it. That's when you remember 2018 Game 7 against Golden State. Houston was so they were so entrenched. It was so much in their heads that they had to take threes. They missed 27 straight 3-point shots in a Game 7. 27 straight in a game where they were up. I believe that they were up like 15 points in that game, and went cold in the second. I believe second quarter into the third quarter. They missed 27 straight 3-point shots because that whole Daryl Morey, free throws and 3-point shots. No mid range is a bad shot. No, it's not. The mid range is not a bad shot. We watched Toronto in 2019 with one of the best mid range players of this generation win a championship in Kawhi Leonard in 2019, knocking down mid range shots. It's not a bad shot. Yes, you have to have 3-point shooters to spread the floor so you don't clog the lanes. I understand that. You have to have shooting. I'm not disparaging shooting. But again, you don't have to abuse. It's like anything in life in moderation. You don't have to take a million 3-point shots to be successful. You don't. So the NBA's problem is not, again, it's not a 3-point problem, 3-point shot problem. It is a shot selection problem. Teams take bad shots. And that is organizational, that's coaching, that's philosophy, it's a whole bunch of factors that go into that. It's not the 3-point shot. That's the problem. Yeah, it's not the 3-point shot. It's the use, or I should say, the misuse of the 3-point shot. That's the problem. So forget about the gimmicks, because what'll happen is, let's say they move the 3-point shot back. You know what? Organizations will do? They'll tell their players, hey, you know what? Practice from 25 feet. They will get their players to practice taking 20, Damian Lillard, Steph Curry range type 3-point shots. That's exactly what they're going to do. I mean, Anthony Davis, and I'm going to get back to Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis, right? Look at his stats here. So the corner three is the shortest three is the shortest three, right? By far, the shortest three out of the 3-point shot. He's only taken 2 corner 3-point shots and missed both of them. Excuse me. One is this. Was this a 3? Yeah. He's only taken 2 the entire season. Most of his 3-point shots have come from beyond, like 25 feet, 26 feet, like ridiculous. 25 feet from the furthest part of the 3-point line, which is insane. That's just bad. That's bad coaching. That's just horrible coaching. Like, what are you doing? Like, I don't want you shooting threes at all, but if I do, if you are going to shoot more threes, take the shortest 3-point shot, which is the corner. Just like Chris Bosh used to do with Miami back in the day. He had that corner 3-point shot. And if it's not there, then don't shoot him at all. So the NBA has, like, the NBA's main problem, they have the load management problem. They also have a player development problem. And that, again, that's another podcast in terms of how they're, especially amongst American players, how American players are being taught how to play basketball or taught not how to play basketball. Period. Who won the week? Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter wins the Heisman Trophy. He won just about every award that he was nominated for. The Lindekoff, Paul Horning Award, the AP Player of the Year. I mean, just cleaned house. I don't know how he wasn't nominated. How he wasn't nominated for the Jim Thorpe Award is just was just beyond stupid. But anyway, wins the Heisman Award over Shanti from Boise State. Shanti was a little bit annoyed, saying he should have took it home. I understand you rushed for 2,600 yards, and on a playoff team, I would feel like I was deserving of the Heisman as well. But the bottom line is, Travis Hunter, I hard to argue against a guy who is the greatest, probably the greatest two-way player that we've ever seen. Like, you know, what he did this year, um, has we've never seen it done at the level. Like this guy was a legitimately one of the top receivers in football, legitimately one of the top cornerbacks in football. And again, I don't care about the lack of interceptions. They didn't throw at him. That's why he didn't have a lot of interceptions. Those interception numbers weren't high. They didn't throw the ball at him. He wasn't challenged. This is one of the great individual performances in recent college football history that a player has that we've ever seen. A guy playing both ways at that level, we've never seen that before. Charles Woodson was a great cornerback, decent receiver. Champ Bailey, great cornerback, okay receiver. They were gimmick type receivers. They were not real. They weren't running precise routes and with the precision that Travis Hunter was doing at the definitely nowhere even close to the level of a Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter, and again, I'm glad that the voters absolutely got it right. He was hands down the best player in college football. The Heisman Trophy is not an MVP award, and Colorado had enough wins this season, and are going to go to a Quality Bowl, enough wins to say, hey, we can't, that they did not use that against him with the voting. I'm glad he won. He's deserving of the win. I just hope moving forward in terms of his future of his NFL that, okay, you won the Heisman Trophy, you played both ways at a high level. If the people around him are smart and if his agents are smart, you want him to play as long as possible. Have him have him choose either commit to being a cornerback or commit to being a wide receiver. You can't do both in the NFL. He tries to do both in the NFL. That's the difference between a 3 to 5 year career versus a 10 to 15 year career. I really believe Travis Hunter could be one of the great cornerbacks of all time. He has that type of talent, 6'2", speed. And plus he's going to have an advantage because he understands routes as a playing receiver. So it's actually going to be beneficial. The knowledge that he's gained from playing receiver at a high level in college will be beneficial to him being a cornerback in the NFL. But you can't the physicality in the NFL is too high. It's way too high for him to be playing both ways. And now, by the way, if I'm drafting him, I'm telling him straight up that this is not what we're doing. You're not playing both ways. It's just all there is to it. So again, this guy has generation. He can be one of the great cornerbacks of all time. Not sure he can be one of the great receivers of all time, but cornerbacks for sure. Like cornerback, and plus listen, both positions are getting paid premium money. Like if you're a top receiver, you're getting the bag. If you're a top cornerback, you definitely get the bag. So he's going to get his money either way, whatever choice he makes. But if he chooses both, that would be the worst thing for him to play both ways. And again, I don't think I don't think a competent NFL franchise will allow him to do that. I wouldn't allow him to do that if I'm drafting him because I think he's just a special talent. I think he could be, he could be what Champ Bailey was or what Darrelle Reeves, Deion Sanders. He has that type of ability as a cornerback. No question about it. NFL Week 16. So you have a excellent doubleheader on Saturday. Kansas City and Houston, Baltimore and Pittsburgh. The Baltimore Pittsburgh game will, in essence, decide the division. Pittsburgh already. Yeah, matter of fact, if Pittsburgh wins that, they will clinch the division. They're one game. Well, they won't. They would clinch the division because they are right now. They are one game ahead of Baltimore and already beaten them once. So they would be 2 games ahead of them, clear of them, and with 2 to play, and with 1 game, and also with the head-to-head. So you had that going on. Washington still, I mean, listen, Washington could still miss the playoffs. They have an important game against the Eagles, hosting the Eagles, a red hot Eagle team. First time they played, the game was closer than the score indicated. They just broke down. Washington broke down a couple weeks ago on Thursday Night Football. In that fourth quarter, defense completely just fell apart from that standpoint. And as regards to the scheduling, and I mentioned this earlier, I'll mention it again. So Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Kansas City, and Houston will embark on a 3-game, 11-day, 3 games in 11 days. All these teams, all 4 of these teams are going to the playoffs. These are all four of these teams are going to the playoffs. You're talking about Patrick Mahomes, C.J. Stroud, Lamar Jackson, T.J. Watt. They have some of the biggest stars. You look at these 4 rosters, they have some of the biggest stars offensively and defensively in the league. I bring this up because it is just borderlining on the criminal for the NFL to have this type of scheduling. You want the playoffs to be, you want the playoffs to be lit. You can't have your best players out there getting hurt because you want to chase every single dollar known to man. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And again, I'm telling you right now, no later than 2026, they're going to be there's going to be a week 18. I'm telling you that right now. If not going to have in 2025, but no later than 2026, where you see a 18 game schedule. It's coming. It's coming faster than you think. But the idea of having 4 teams go 3 games in 11 days, like you're asking for injuries. You are asking for injuries. Like these teams, like I mean, the season is already 18 weeks and 17 games. You're already starting to see some teams break down now. Detroit is limping home. A bunch of these teams have a number of injuries as you would expect in December. So I just think it's like, again, as the NFL just tries to chase every dollar down, they take Christmas away from the NBA, and they just like, so they're going to start. They're going to have They're going to have a Saturday night triple header on the 28th. They're going to have the doubleheader on Christmas Day. They're going to have a Saturday night doubleheader. They're having back-to-back. So the NFL is about to just completely take over December. They're going to have the Saturday night doubleheader 21st. They have a doubleheader. They're going to have Monday night, of course, on the 23rd. Then they're going to have a doubleheader Christmas Day, and then another doubleheader on Saturday, on the following Saturday, post-Christmas, and on the 28th. Again, I think it's ridiculous. In terms of the scheduling. Again, these are 4 playoff teams. 2 of them are division lead. 3 of them are division leaders. Pittsburgh, Kansas City, and Houston all are division leaders right now. And Baltimore is chasing Pittsburgh for a division title. So 4 of the top teams in the AFC going to have this stretch of just rigorous stretch, and we'll see who can survive it as we head towards the playoffs in the NFL. That's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Ril Dil Podcast. I may see you next time. If I don't, see you in 2025.